Hey, this is Skippen. I've been testing out Ibis Paint recently and will be putting out a full review in the near future, but today I wanted to do a quick tutorial on how to draw anime style eyes in Ibis Paint. So if you think about what an eye looks like, even a stylized one, you could break it down into a hexagon-like shape. Like so. Of course, a real human eye is more rounded, but when it comes to an anime style, we're taking something that exists in real life and making it a little bit more stylized. So you can take your basic stylized human eye and you can mold it into this form that we find visually appealing when it comes to anime style art by adding more emphasis to the details that we enjoy from the human eye and taking away those that are unnecessary and just conveying the basic idea. Of course, everyone has their own way of doing things when it comes to drawing in an anime style. It's very open to interpretation, but in general, if you're struggling while trying to draw eyes, I think you should look at the natural shape of a human eye and try to break that down into a more stylized form through shapes and your own interpretations. So now I'm going to show you how I would take this sketch, add some line work to it, and go ahead and color it. Normally what I do for line work is I'll have my sketch layer and I'll reduce the opacity and add a layer on top of that. I'm going to take this pen fade tool, which is one of my favorites in Ibis Paint, and just go ahead and outline this. I find that when drawing in Ibis Paint, there's not really a brush that has a fine taper like you would find on, say, Clip Studio Paint or Paint Tool Sai. I really enjoy using those brushes for making fine lines like those for hair and eyes. So instead what I'll do is I'll take that brush that I mentioned earlier, I'll make the best line that I can, and then I'll erase part of it to make sure that it has a nice sharp taper. Of course, everyone has their own style. Some people enjoy a more rough look, some people want a more sharp digital look. I think my style is somewhere in the middle. And I do enjoy that pen fade tool because it adds just a little bit of softness to the edges so you don't have such a harsh digital look. After you finish doing your line work, I always recommend using the mesh transform tool just to get everything in line the way that you want it. So now that I've finished up the line work, I'm going to go ahead and add my base colors and walk you through the way that I color eyes. With Ibis Paint, I'm generally still just using this pen fade tool for almost any type of painting, coloring, sketching. It's one of my favorite tools on the platform. Above our base skin color, I like to add our eye white, and I'll typically start with a darker color. On top of that, I'll clip a layer to it and add the eye white. You could definitely do this in different ways, but this is the way I've found to be easiest for me. And I like to try to blend it in a little bit with the skin color. You can also go back to that base layer and with a smudge or blur tool, mix it into the skin a little bit. We'll go ahead and create a new layer and pick a base color for the eyes. We'll clip a layer to that and try to pick a color that is more vibrant but also darker for our iris. We can take the same color but then on a multiply layer, add this shadow effect to the top part. I tend to like to blur that out and then really accent the pupil. And then you could do something similar on the bottom side using screen or one of the other lighten layers and a lighter color to accent the bottom of the eye. So once I add my base shadows and highlights, I tend to just build on top of that with more and more colors until I'm satisfied. I'll add a new layer, and then with an airbrush and a darker color, I'll start to give it a 3D look. And then I'll take something in between and try to smooth things out. And keep on doing this until I refine everything to the shape and form that I like. For me, it's about experimentation and it depends on the piece, but I like to start adding more and more colors with softer brushes and trying to pick those in-between colors to add a very smooth and nice gradient. And then with different blending modes, you can add darker shadows or lighter highlights. It all depends on your style and your preferences. So once you have your general shape and colors down, you can go ahead and use blending modes to really make your character's eyes pop. To make the eyes have more of a 3D look, I like to use the darken layer to make a nice gradient between the shadows and the highlights. And then on top of that, to make some really extreme highlights, I like to use the color dodge blending mode. With a lighter color and sometimes something a little bit off color. And then you can take the smudge tool and really blend this in. Once you get to this point, I think you're pretty much close to done. Everything after this is really just based on your own preferences, but it's always nice to add some secondary colors depending on the background, the environment, or even just your style. And once I get the general look that I want when it comes to the colors, I tend to go back to the skin to add some more details that I feel match what I had colored with the eyes and even with the eye whites. Add the little highlight above the line work and even clip a layer to the line work to make the eyes blend in a little bit more with what I colored and create that smooth anime look that I like so much. Of course, there are many other ways that you could draw eyes, but I wanted to give my perspective on it because people have been asking me how to color eyes and how to color hair and stuff like that, so I want to go through it little by little when I have some time. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out in the comments. I'm always available, trying to answer everyone's questions and help out. I'm Skipan, and thank you so much for watching.